Okay, so Shams has got it down to just a few teams right now and says it'll be within a few days as we get into the deep dive. We got our Celtics insider, Chris Forsberg, joining us. Giles and Keefe with you as well. Forsberg, your reaction to hearing those three teams as well as the timeline, which seems like it's just right in front of us.
I'm always skeptical, Giles. Whenever a team is like, oh, we're getting down to the finish line, no one come over the top with a crazy offer for Kevin Durant. I think this is to put pressure on other teams across the league. Like if San Antonio is hemming and hawing a little bit, maybe this is a chance for them to just kind of hit the accelerator. But for me, it comes down to, are there other teams out there that are interested in a Kevin Durant pursuit, but have been maybe reluctant to go full in here? And I just think this will put some pressure on them to come to the table and show what they can make happen. And the three teams that are out there, like I kind of shrug my shoulders, like, okay, like the Rockets are interesting because like the West is just loaded and that certainly puts them on a different level. But, you know, like what are the Heat trading? Where they're still in contention afterwards. So I'd be very interested. But I look if I had to maybe wager right now, I wonder if it's not one of those three teams that ends up getting Kevin Durant.
Mystery team. Never rule out mystery team. Am I crazy in thinking that Kevin Durant going somewhere isn't going to impact the league as much as maybe it should?
I am right there with you, man.
Kevin Durant and Devin Booker were teammates and missed the playoffs. Like he's still a great scorer, like 25, maybe even 30 a night. But he and Booker, I thought, were like these great players. I was like, oh, look out for these guys. Even if Beal's washed, I was like, all right, that could be nothing. Like they weren't a top 10 team in the Western Conference. So if you put him on, you know, as it relates to the Celtics, the Miami Heat, okay, like they got another guy who can score. I don't think it vaults them ahead of Boston, even without Tatum. I don't think it vaults them certainly ahead of Cleveland or Indiana. So I still think he has some game left in him. I'm not saying he's completely washed like his teammate Bradley Beal, but Durant doesn't scare me like the name maybe should.
You know how many playoff series he's won since 2021, Keefe?
That'd be zero?
One.
Oh, okay, one.
There's one. But I'm saying over the last 4 years, one playoff series. So. And that might not be completely on him. That might be on the supporting cast, whatever the circumstances. But I'm a little bit with you. That being said, though, Chris, we did talk about one team in particular the other day. Is there one team or more than one team that if he does get moved to, maybe piques your interest more than others?
Yeah, the only one that interests me is the Detroit Pistons. And they've got a young core that is on the come up that I think is going to be in the mix in the Eastern Conference. And if you add one more veteran piece, if they cycle out Tobias Harris and other parts, like that scares me a little bit. Now, it might just be a one-year rental because Durant's in a contract year here and he's got to like the place that he goes to. But, you know, that's the only one that really concerns me, where it's a legitimate contender in a conference that you're in, and he could potentially push them over the top a little bit more. Now, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe that's not a big deal in a year where you don't think you're going to have Tatum at least at the start of the year, and you just like, okay, like if Detroit wants to go all in for one season, no guarantee Durant would want to re-sign there. But I do feel like that's the one team when you look at their books and you're like, wow, they're like $58 million under the second apron right now. They can maneuver, they can make a big splash move, and even if it doesn't work out, they can still cycle out and find the next player after that. So that's the one area in at least among Eastern Conference teams that does alarm me.
Yeah, Keith, Detroit is fascinating to me for the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, and they were a fun team this year. I actually thought they were going to win their first round series. Didn't happen. But if it's not Durant for the Pistons, like what else would be out there for them to improve them, to make them a threat in the Eastern Conference? You know, I think they got a great building block piece in Cade Cunningham. Obviously, he got a lot out of the guys around him. Yeah, so maybe that would be a fascinating team if it's them for Durant, because if it's not him, I wonder where they go, or if it's just another year, like just try to take that group and get a little bit older and see if this experience pays off for them next year.
Okay, and again, the Eastern Conference, you know, you're going to be talking about the depth of it a lot more next year because Jason Tatum obviously not going to be around for the regular season anyways. We know the Celtics, they're going to have to be making some moves as well. You had Scal actually on the off-season show with Chris Forsberg, and I asked him if there's one player we should not expect to get traded.
You don't have to ask that question. You know the answer. Come on, Chris. Be honest. I mean, we could pretend or anything like that. We got time. We got other things to talk about. There's no way in hell Derrick White is not on this team next year, the next 5 years. We just know. Like, come on.
Okay. I get it. I think Derrick White is the perfect complement to whatever the Celtics have next year, the year after, 3 years down the road. He's just the perfect complement to the Celtics and whoever their stars are. But Rich Keefe, do you think there's any chance that, because Brad Stevens also, sometimes zigs when everyone else is zagging, do you think there's any chance that Derrick White, his name actually comes up as a legitimate trade possibility?
Yeah, I think we've learned from the Luka Doncic trade that every single player could be traded, right? And I know Nico Harris and Brad Stevens, I'm not trying to put this in, I'm just saying every player can and will be traded. They all move. It's the NBA. It happens all the time. So I don't think Derrick White's going to get traded, but I think it's comical that it's like, oh, no chance. Like, yeah, let's talk about Jaylen Brown getting traded, but Derrick White, like, please. Crazy things happen.
What would it take?
What would it take? So that's the one thing I don't really understand. Is I don't want like a Mikal Bridges like bunch of first-round picks for it. I also think that would have to be a 3-team deal, Chris, because a contender would want White. And if you're the Celtics, you want to get somebody back in return that can play with Tatum in 2 years. So I'm not looking for a lot of picks. I'm not looking for like super young guys. So I wonder if that's where you find a team that's out of it that has a good player, and then the 2 contenders get the good players, the 1 bad team gets the pick, something like that. But, I mean, overall, I don't want to trade Derrick White. I just think it's funny to be like, oh, let's not even talk about it. There's no chance.
Right. The bottom line is he's going to be 32 before Tatum is probably back to the peak of his powers coming off of this injury. And so you at least have to listen to what's out there. I understand Scal's point. Like, he's the last guy you want to trade, but he's also your most valuable asset. So you at least have to be aware of what's out there. Everyone kind of points to a team like the Warriors, right? Like, last gasp, could you pair him with Steph and Jimmy Butler? But what are you getting back? That team doesn't have a whole lot of assets. And even if they do, they're not going to be very robust over the next year or two. Maybe if you got future picks, you'd be intrigued by that. What it comes down to is that, like, if you were confident that Tatum is going to be back and, at the peak of his powers in 2 years, Derrick White complements him better than any player on this team. They have that relationship. They do the goofy dressing up together, headbands, all that. Like, I also understand why you don't think he's going to move, but it's just something where he's your most valuable asset. If a team came and tried to overwhelm you, you'd have to think about it. But Keith, you're right. Like, my mind starts spinning. Like, how do you do it 3-team wise? Are you trying to get back a player? Like, you're not getting back a player that's as good as Derrick White in that scenario. So unless you're willing to get younger, unless you're willing to go through the rebuilding process, it's not an ideal situation to move Derrick White.
All right, real quick, Keith, you're Hoops Keefe. Like, where do you stand on the Celtics and what do you think is going to happen with this offseason? Who do you think is going to be dealt?
It's probably Porzingis and/or Holiday. I mean, it could very well be both of them. Hauser seems like an obvious one, too. I think it's, Jaylen Brown, Derrick White, Peyton Pritchard sort of is your core for next year. And then now it's up to Brad Stevens to kind of take those older guys, take those contracts, find some undervalued big men to sort of pair up with these guys for next year, make a run at it, try to be like a 4 or 5 seed, and then really be good to go once Jason Tatum returns.
Okay, well, we're going to find out.
My only quibble is Porzingis.
Yeah, and we can get into that further. You can even get into it, Chris, if you want, and as you have, on YouTube, because our Celtics analysts, they took a look at the future of the Eastern Conference in our series called the Off-Season Show. If you missed it, you can watch it tonight at 9 p.m. right here on NBC Sports Boston.